All right, we're live on YouTube.
Okay. All right, everybody. Hey, listen, I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. I'm going to jump right into this. It'll be about a 10 or 15 minute quick training session. And today we're going to talk about what happens when the client signs a contract and completes the decision logic link. I think this is real important for you guys because I've got a lot of emails from you saying, hey, the person hadn't got their funding, this, that, and the other. So let's just talk about that. Our first discussion I want to talk about is with the A lenders. It's kind of important to understand the process with them. It's a little bit different than the B, C, D lenders. When an A lender gets a client's acceptance and we say, hey, they're ready to go, they're going to send, in most cases, a DocuSign. And once that's signed, along with any kind of requested step, they may say, hey, I just want to see an AR report, or I might want to see proof of ownership or something. That doesn't happen very often with A lenders, but sometimes it does. Then we get that. Once it's all signed and submitted, there's no funding call. There's no bank verification. I mean, these things go really quickly. And normally, when it's a DocuSign involved, it takes about 20 to 45 minutes to get this funded. And these guys send out wires at that point. Now, there are some A lenders that actually send out what we call an online portal link, where the client will actually click on the link. They set up their own little portal so they can kind of follow what's going on their particular funding. They can see it as it's paid down and that sort of thing. And they set that up with their own little password. Now, if they go through the portal link, then it's pretty much within, I would say, 2 to 5 minutes, the wire goes out. Here's the great thing about these wires: they're instant. And in almost all cases, it'll be in the account almost immediately. If it's a bank or a credit union that has a third-party sponsor that they're using, it may take a couple hours to get in there, but most of the time it's in there very, very, very quickly. And again, A lenders always send wires. And again, that's minutes. Now let's talk about B, C, and D lenders. First of all, B, C, and D lenders doesn't mean that they're not good lenders. It just simply means those are they're looking at B, C, and D paper. They don't want the A paper. They don't want to compete in that space. And the reason is there's not a lot of money to be made in that space. And you got to really know what you're doing, so that without having funding calls and bank verification, you got to be sure that you're funding the right people when you're an A lender. When the B, C, and D lender gets an approval, then they're going to send out DocuSign contracts. DocuSign just means they're going to sign it there electronically online. Once these contracts are executed by the client, they come back, and then at that point, a decision logic link goes out. And they go into that decision logic, they complete it, and I'll go over what that all means in just a few minutes. But once they get all that back, and they look at the decision logic, they're going to be doing a little bit more underwriting at that point. And let me explain, to you guys what kind of information they're looking for when they're on that decision logic link. There are really 3 major components of it. They're going to be looking at, number one, what is their current balance, and is it positive or negative? They'll never fund a client if they have a negative current balance. In most cases, they're going to let that client go, have an opportunity to put some money in the account and make it whole. And usually they want, $400 or $500, at least a couple of payments, or maybe even a week of payments. Those payments there with their availability before they send the funds out to them. But they're first looking for the positive bank account. The second thing they're looking for is month to date. They want to see Have they accepted any other funding? So remember, like it's easy now, this first couple of, we're only on the fifth, and so there's probably not a lot of activity. So they're not really looking at much except to make sure that they are positive and that they haven't been negative for a long period of time, and that they haven't taken funding from a competitor. A lot of unscrupulous agents will try to double fund. Well, they'll go ahead and get something funded, and then we'll catch it, and there's no way that any BC or D lender is going to fund on top of a someone who just accepted funding. Usually they want 30 to 45 days before they'll do a stacking situation. But if it's an A lender they're stacking against, sometimes they'll go ahead and do it right away. And then the final thing they're really looking at is, what is their activity currently month to date? Let's say they were doing 25,000 every single month in and month out. But this month they're down to about 5,000, and we're 2/3 of the way through the month. They're going to need an answer on what's going on with your revenue. And in most cases, they'll either decline it, or sometimes they'll lower the amount that they're willing to fund. We got a great funding partner called Spartan, and in almost every case, when it's like that, they're going to come back to me and say, listen, here's what we're willing to do for them. Or they may even tell the client, they'll say, listen, you asked for 20,000, we're going to give you 10,000 now, and we're going to look, and if your revenue jumps up in the next 10 days, we'll give you another 10 or 20,000. So they're really good about this, but most of the lender partners will just, walk away. They'll say, hey, listen, it's just not enough revenue. Wait 30 days and then come back. So and at that point, once they've already done all that, then they complete a funding call. These are normally very quick calls. What they're doing is they're going over everything with the client that they signed, and they got it on tape, so that the client never says, I didn't know about this, you didn't cover it, the agent didn't do this, or Bank Breezy didn't tell me that. Well, they're going over all that, and they've got it recorded, so when your client says they didn't understand, they did, because it was covered on the funding call. So all these calls being recorded really help all of us. And during that funding call, they're going to be basically just talking to them about what are you going to do with the funds, how's your business. And I want you to understand that we at Bank Breezy coach the novices in this industry about that. In other words, you've got some clients that have had multiple fundings in the past. They know what the funding call is all about. If you got someone who's never had a funding, I want to make sure they understand, first of all, the underwriter is not their enemy, but they're not their friend either. On these calls, they're information seeking people. And if all of a sudden you say something crazy on these calls, like, listen, we're going to take the next couple of weeks off, getting ready to go on vacation, glad to have this money, that's going to get me through this. Well, do you think any lender wants to move forward with that? So we coach the client to answer their questions. No need to volunteer any information. Tell them how excited you are about having the money, and how excited you are about the future of your business. So we do our job, and sometimes, unfortunately, the client doesn't do theirs, and it gets killed. But so we try to keep them from doing any kind of crazy stuff. All right, once the funding call completed on B, C, and D paper, then a senior underwriter looks through everything one last time. They're going to look through the make sure the funding call went well. They're going to make sure that they look at the bank statements one last time. They look at the background one last time. And as I told you last week, some of the B, C, and D lenders don't even do the background report until the end. And that's the frustrating part for you as well as my team. When they don't do they've already gotten the agreement signed, they already got the decision logic completed and logged into their account, they've already gotten the funding call done, and then they do a background and they kill it. Man, that is frustrating for us. And I try to use those lenders at the very only if I have to. In other words, they give the best offer. It needs to be offered through them. But in a lot of cases, you just don't know. And then we have to go back with egg on our face to the client saying, hey, listen, I'm sorry, but it didn't get through. And they're angry and rightfully so, I guess, in their minds. All right. At that point, when all this is done, then they send the money through the ACH network. Almost no BC and D lenders use a bank wire to send out the money. They use the ACH network, which is a time sensitive network. If you send the funds out through ACH before noon, it'll be in their account by the end of the day. But after that, especially after about 1 o'clock Eastern, it may not show up in their account by the end of the day. Sometimes it will, but it will be by the next morning. So we tell the clients that, so you don't have to worry. We are telling them and that sometimes it just takes longer in the ACH network. So I'm sorry, I got notes here. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. And the final thing I want to go over today with you guys is the 10K in 10 minutes or less. As you know, they're not in California. We're not in California. We're not in New York with that. That we've already got the system where those files are going to come to us if that's the case. And you try to submit a client through with those two states. Just so you know, on this, we have now switched it. So everything that's $15,000 below 15,000, I should say, is automatically going through this system, even and you need to know that. But if they get turned down, then it's going to be kind of your responsibility to tell them to resubmit it and find a way to go around the system so that we can see the file for whatever reason, unless it is. I got an email from someone just yesterday wanting to know if they had personal bank statements. Could we help them with, if they can't get help through the up to 10,000 in 10 minutes, we can't help them because we have to have business bank statements. And when that thing is submitted to when the file submitted to the 10K in up to 10 minutes, then an email is going to go out to you, the agent that it started. And of course, the email is going to go out to the agents when it's funded. And then the email will let you know whether or not the bank was linked. Trust me, they are going to know if they've fallen prey to just not completing it on time, or the link didn't go through, they couldn't get it done, because they get the text from Giggle, they get the email, so they know what to do. I just want to make sure you guys were aware of that. And I can't help them on the Bank Breezy side, because we got all this set up through a system that works beautifully. And you'll just have to, if you got questions about anything that is up to 10K in under 10 minutes, you just send an email to support@David Allen Capital, and then they'll get back with you. They're incredibly good at what they do, and they get back very, very, very quickly. Haven't seen any complaints about that. But it's been about 15 minutes. So if any of you guys have any questions about, or David's got a comment, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment. Wade had said if they can't get approved at Giggle, then you can have them reapply. What he meant is if they can't link their bank accounts.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can't help someone who gets declined at Giggle, but they won't get declined if they can't link their bank account. It'll be stuck in can't link bank account. And those are the ones that Wade's team will look at if they are unable to link their bank because they don't know the credentials, or the bank is not part of the Plaid network. Otherwise, Giggle's decision is the decision. So I just want to make that
clear.
I
didn't mean to confuse them like that.
No worries. I think you said it perfectly. When you said if they can't get approved there, you meant because of bank linking. But so I just wanted to say that in case someone wrote down, if anyone doesn't get approved, we send them to Bank Breezy. So
yeah,
that's it. Good stuff.
Any questions today?
Okay. You got a question? Go ahead and use your hand raiser.
All right.
No, we're good,
That
Wade.
sounds good. And guys, I try to keep these 10 to 15 minutes of knowledge at a time. And I think that's a good way to do this. And then I'll let David know by his call on Friday what we'll be talking about next Wednesday. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your time today. Hope you
God
had a
bless you
great
all.
Fourth.